Hi, this is Janossy. I'm greeting you from Scotland, where I'm on tour with one of my kids for about 5 weeks. I'm actually doing a distance learning course during this time period. I sort of told my students this summer that I was engaged in a very special type of study abroad program. In this kind of program, only the instructor goes abroad. It's a distance learning course. I'm happy to come to you this way in a video. I'm sorry I can't be present with Zoaib at the Moodle moot in San Francisco this week. I actually had planned this vacation before the arrangements for the moot were firmed up. This little video is only a few minutes long, and it gives you the highlights of the talk that I had planned on giving. The actual talk is about 20 minutes long, and it's another video that you can access at q123.us/moot. That's what I call a quick link. It's part of a mechanism that I've evolved to better support online education. The longer of the two videos coming up explains all about that. This is a subset of the presentation that I've recorded on video and placed on YouTube. My name is Jim Janossy. I'm with DePaul University, and I teach for the College of Computer Science and Digital Media. What I have here for you is a transition process to move from one LMS to Moodle. The LMS we're talking about here is Blackboard. We used Blackboard at DePaul from 2005 to 2010, and then the university made a decision to switch, and we went to Desire to Learn. However, I started a research project with the intent of coming up with a mechanism that would allow the a la carte use of an LMS. Rather than making the LMS the central focus of instruction, what I wanted to do was to reduce extraneous cognitive load as much as possible for faculty and for students. What came about in this effort is this. With 4 steps of taking content out, forming an ebook of your content, and then installing exercises and discussions in the target LMS, in this case Moodle, and establishing links to the Moodle pages, the ebook then becomes the course. You can decide how you want to distribute the ebook. I have a number of suggestions for you in the full-length presentation, which I'll point you to at the end of this brief introduction. This 4-step process actually works for any transition away from an LMS to another LMS, because you have to take the content out of one and then eventually put something into the new one. I've found that Moodle is absolutely the best for this type of mechanism because you can do direct links, deep links, into Moodle pages for exercises and discussions and anything else. This means that you can make the use of the ebook transparent to the student as to where the resources come from. Your ebook, which is just a PDF that has everything in it, is readily formed with tools that you already know, such as your word processor, PowerPoint, even Excel. A mixture of outputs from those programs is just fine. The key to it is outputting things individually as PDFs and then concatenating those PDFs together, and you don't have to have an expensive tool to do that. In the full-length presentation, I explain how you use Qt PDF Pro to do this. It's a very easy process, and it results in one consolidated piece of work that you provide to your students either through Moodle or in other ways that I'll mention. It orchestrates your students' learning in a very familiar way, namely a book. They don't have to hunt through one LMS or another and navigate through whatever mechanisms you've set up to find the material. One point I'd like to make is think about this from the student's point of view. They're taking multiple classes at the same time. Instructors can set up Moodle or any other LMS page for a course in any way they like. This means the student encounters one different human interface after another to gather up the information they need for a specific course. It also imposes a lot of burdens on faculty in creating course material that way. There's a number of advantages to my suggestion. I cover these advantages in greater detail in the full-length presentation, but think about this. You don't have to, as a faculty member, learn to use a new editor. You just use your word processor or any other tools you care to that can produce PDFs. It minimizes student questions in class as to how to find things in the LMS because they're not going to look in the LMS. They're going to look in something very familiar to them, namely a book. You can leverage their knowledge of that type of learning materials as opposed to spending time trying to explain how you set up an LMS page. Even more importantly is the fact that by creating an ebook and in effect publishing it, you're protecting your intellectual property rights. You've created this work on your own using a common tool that you have. You haven't used a proprietary tool or a tool that's only supported by your institution to create the material. You in fact own it, and you can do with it what you will. If you place your materials in somebody else's system, you're going kind of far in the direction of helping them make the case that it's really something they have a continuing interest in, whether or not you're involved. I'm not a lawyer. I can't advise you on the fine legal points, but I can tell you this much. As in many other things, possession is the bulk of the law. And if you've created something using someone else's tool, and in some way you're being compensated for that, you're really going pretty far in establishing the fact that they have an interest in it far beyond what you think they might have. You might consider doing this for that purpose alone. This sort of thing can lead to learning materials print publications, something you're probably very familiar with as an academic faculty member, and perhaps have done in the past. Going in this direction is a good thing for you to do. It has advantages for the students as well. They know how to use a book. They don't have to gather fragments of information from here and there. Any hyperlinks you wish to use are active in the PDF. So you can orchestrate the learning in the way that you feel is most productive for the student, whatever sequence that might be. If you link to videos or other resources, you can place them where they're relevant in these materials. Not in some list someplace else, but right there where you're referring to it. You can also create short videos in which you refine some of the points or make some points or demonstrate something. A little 1-minute video demonstrating something at the exact point where you're explaining it in your writings can be invaluable for student learning. It also makes it possible for students to do offline reading. They don't have to be connected to the internet, and if you go as far as using one of the workbook publishers I'll suggest, at no cost to yourself, by the way, the students can then obtain your printed materials at very low cost and have them in print form. If they don't even have their own computer, or they don't have access to a computer, they can still have access to what you've written because of the printed nature of a workbook. For all these reasons, it occurs to me that you might be happy taking a look at the longer version of this presentation. You can find that at what I call a quick link, q123.us/moot. Now this is a mechanism that's similar to bit.ly or a tiny URL, but it's just a website I set up so I have more control over these redirection sets of HTML. What this will get you to is a very quick redirection to a blog page, which is set up just simply to provide information to you. This presentation, the longer presentation, and some other resources, including 2 courses that I can show you that I conduct using this mechanism, it's all available at this link, q123.us/moot. You don't put HTTP in front of that, you don't put W's in front of it, it's just those simple characters that you enter on the address line of your browser, and you will almost immediately go to the intended page. I hope you take the time to take a look at the larger presentation. It is 20 minutes long, it's in video, similar to these slides, and I think you'll find it very informative. I hope you enjoy San Francisco. Bye-bye.